Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Ellen Dance. I am the Director of Corporate Training at Employee Network Incorporated. Oh, whoops. I did not mean to do all of that. I did not mean to do all of that. I am here today to talk about mental health and the holidays. We're only going to talk for a few minutes, but I want to give some practical tips and some practical awareness as all of us experience the holidays very differently and not always in the best way. Like I mentioned, my name is Mary Ellen. I actually am a licensed mental health counselor by trade, and I am the Director of Corporate Training for Employee Network Incorporated, or ENI, which is an employee assistance program. So let's dive right in. I want to begin today by sharing some statistics that are honestly a little bit scary. All of these statistics are from the United States. Out of a survey of 400 adults in the United States, 46% of people stress out over the pressure to give or get gifts. 56% of people report eating more due to holiday stress. 30% report drinking more due to holiday stress. And 69% of people are stressed by the feeling of having a lack of time or money. I'm sure we can all relate to that in some form or another. At least 69% of us can. So in a different study where more than 400 adults were surveyed, an overall 38% of people report that overall stress levels increase over the holidays. There's a lot happening at the holidays. A lot of us at work, it's year end. So we're doing things at work for year end and wrapping things up, which can be stressful in and of itself. If we have kids, they're off of school for a period of time, which is stressful, great and stressful. And there's just usually a lot going on. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we might not realize are stressful, maybe not even for us, but maybe some of our family or some people that we work with. There are a lot of common misconceptions too about the holidays. I think a lot of us have in our brains that holidays should be magical. I mean, we probably have learned that from Hallmark movies, that holidays should be magical and we should feel thankful and love and happy. That's a huge misconception, unfortunately. There's other misconceptions about, having to go to everything we're invited to. I see people running back and forth from party to party to event to event. Just because we're invited to things does not mean we have to attend those things. Another common misconception is that we need to get our kids the same amount of gifts year after year. But our financial situations change year after year. So if for whatever reason last year you were able to get your kids many gifts, but your financial situation has changed and you can't afford as many gifts, that's okay. You won't scar your kids because of that. That's okay. Also, people often think, and this makes me really sad, but people often think that weight gain is inevitable, that going into debt is inevitable, that drinking is inevitable. That's just a misconception. So, some truths about the holidays, not misconceptions. The holidays are hard. We can enjoy certain things about the holidays and we can look forward to certain things about the holidays, but they are still very difficult for a myriad of reasons. But one of the reasons that the holidays are very difficult is because grief is typically amplified during the holidays. Whether it's our first holiday without a loved one, or maybe it's our 20th holiday without a loved one, because holidays are so focused around family, friends, loved ones, it becomes very obvious those who are no longer with us. And it's okay to be grieving during the holidays. It's okay for grief to be amplified during the holidays. It makes sense that grief is amplified during the holidays. There's nothing wrong with that. It's important to be aware of that and utilize our coping skills, utilize our support system around us. But It's okay, and quite honestly, it's to be expected. Holidays are also really often lonely, and loneliness looks different for everyone. We can be very, very lonely when we're alone, but we can be very, very lonely when we're in a crowd of people too. And so if anyone listening or if anyone listening knows anyone who's experiencing extreme loneliness, that is normal. It's not a fun feeling, but I want us all to recognize that it's okay. That's almost expected that we feel that way. Um, as I mentioned, we don't have to go into debt. I am not a financial advisor, but I imagine financial advisors would also say that. It is not worth it to go into debt over the holidays. We also don't have to go to every party. We can say thank you for the invitation, but I cannot come. Spreading ourselves too thin over the holidays to try to attend every party is not going to help any of us at all. Um, Another huge truth about the holiday, and this relates to some people's families and maybe not others, but we don't have to participate in conversations that we don't want to participate in. We can say, no, thank you, I'm not having this conversation right now. We can do that. So for a lot of families, unfortunately, maybe political debates or other types of very, very sensitive, uncomfortable topics come up over holiday dinners, and those don't need to come up. And if you do not want to participate in those conversations, you do not have to. You also do not have to drink. You can toast with water. You can toast with ginger ale. You do not have to drink. Thankfully, like nowadays, there's a lot of what are they called? Mocktails. Like mocktails, if if you want to have kind of something other than water, but something kind of fancy without alcohol. We do not need alcohol to be involved in the holidays. We may be triggered to use alcohol, but we do not, that doesn't have to be a part of our holidays. Okay. So some ways to cope with all of this. First of all, remembering the things that I've been saying, but also we need to give ourselves grace. We are all just doing the best we can. So we need to give ourselves grace. We are going to have some happy moments over the holidays and probably some sad moments over the holidays. And being patient with ourselves and giving ourselves grace is very important. In doing that, we need to remember to breathe and be very intentional with our time. It is a huge, huge cause of burnout when we are spreading ourselves too thin, doing things we don't want to do, and not being intentional with our time. If spending time with your children when they have school, when they have off of school for a week or a week and a half is very important to you, then don't schedule other things that week. Spend time with your kids. Be intentional with what you want to do with your time. I already mentioned saying no. I love saying no. It can be very uncomfortable saying no, but uncomfortable does not equal bad. We can still say no, and even though we're uncomfortable, that can still be a really good thing for us. Another really important thing is to plan ahead, whether it's planning ahead with our spending and our finances, planning ahead with parties, with our calendars, things like that. Planning ahead can take away a lot of anxiety that comes with the holidays. As I mentioned, grief really skyrockets around the holidays. And one really important way to grieve and to cope with feelings of grief is to talk about it. Talk about the person we've lost. Tell happy memories, tell sad memories, tell whatever you want to tell. Talk about it. We don't have to shove down the fact that we're thinking of someone who's no longer with us. It's important to talk about that to keep their memory alive. It's also important to take breaks. So if you are spending time, maybe you're spending a few days at a relative's house, or maybe relatives are spending a few days at your house. We can take breaks. We do not have to be with them 24/7. We can go into a room by ourselves, take a few deep breaths, whatever it may be. Um, that is very, very important. We do not have to be on top of each other, even if we're staying in the same house. Taking breaks is vital, to have quality time with your family and loved ones. And so most of us are probably listening to this or watching this webinar from work. And as I mentioned, I am coming from, an employee assistance program. So it's important to talk about the holidays at work. So we, of course, want to share feelings of joy at work. If we are feeling happy, if we're feeling excited about holiday plans, that is wonderful to share. It's important that when we're sharing that, to keep in mind that not everyone is feeling the same way we're feeling. That I can be excited about the X and share my excitement about X with awareness that like other people may not have X or other people may be dreading X, whatever it may be. It's important to check in with others to see if they're okay. Mental health struggles around the holiday. We can check in with our colleagues, with our friends and say, hey, how are we doing? Do you need anything? How are we feeling around the holidays? December is a hard month. It's important to try to avoid asking about gifts, asking about plans, and discussing how busy you are. So the reason it's important to avoid these things is because we don't always know, maybe we know a little bit, but we don't know the whole story of the situation that other people are in. So maybe someone's in a situation where they financially can't buy any gifts and they're already feeling bad about it. We don't want to then go ask them, oh, what'd you get so-and-so? Because that would make it worse. What if somebody wasn't invited to something that they really want to be invited to, or they have, plans with their family that they're really dreading and they're working really, really hard to try to figure out how to manage it. We don't necessarily want to bring those things up for someone if they're already internally struggling with it. Now, we can ask how they're doing, if they're okay, if they want to talk about anything to support, but we don't want to put people in an uncomfortable position. Plus, it's a workplace. It doesn't matter what your coworker is getting their kid for Christmas. And then discussing how busy you are. Again, we want to share joy. We want to be able to kind of go back and forth with, what people are doing and how people's holidays were. And that's absolutely okay. It's just important to remember that not everyone else is as busy as we are. Maybe this is somebody's first holiday without a loved one. Maybe somebody wasn't invited to something. Maybe somebody's struggling with depression around the holidays. Lots of things could be going on that we don't know about. And as much as it's okay to share joy and talk about, the good things going on for us, I really want us to be very aware of what potentially could be going on for other people, especially in the workplace. When there are different boundaries in the workplace, even with colleagues that we're friends with, or that we get along with really, really well, we don't want that colleague to feel like they have to talk about their financial situation related to gifts in the workplace, because that's not appropriate. It's also important to let people know we're thinking about them. It will never, ever, 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 ever hurt to let someone know, like, hey, the holidays have made me think about you. I hope you're doing okay. That is a wonderful thing. And that can honestly make a huge difference in that person's life. And hopefully we have people that are doing that for us as well. So I want us to all remember that it is okay to have very mixed feelings about the holidays. It is okay. And it is okay to kind of be riding the emotional roller coaster over the holidays of, some high highs and some low lows. That's okay. That's to be expected. That's common. It's important to do what's within our control. Like I chatted about on the last slide right here, it's important to do what's within our control to help manage some of those roller coaster emotions, to help, mitigate some of the stress that's happening around us. It's important to do what's within our control. Thank you all so much for being here. I do these webinars once a month on the first the first Thursday of the month? Yes, the first Thursday of the month. And so all of you will be getting emails. Now that you're on our email list, you will be getting emails about upcoming webinars and upcoming topics. And feel free, my email is right here on this slide. Feel free to email me if there's certain topics you'd like to see, questions, comments, whatever it may be. But thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your lunch break to chat about this. And I hope that everyone has a very, very safe holiday season.